Let's go to Kyiv and correspondent Gulliver Cragg. It's been a weekend of increased finger pointing at the Kremlin on the part of the West, and now these stories of troop movements. How are people taking it where you are?
Well, you know, the Ukrainian government is very keen for people not to panic. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry issued a statement after the United States said it was evacuating its embassy in Kyiv, or at least most non-essential staff, saying that although they respected their allies' decision, they felt that this was premature and excessive. And that's very much the line of the government. And I think to a large extent it's being followed by the people. I think there are also a large section of the Ukrainian population who are trying as hard as they can to pay as little attention as possible to this, because they're sick of this war that's been going on for 8 years. But of course, people are beginning to get a bit jittery. People are wondering if they should be making preparations for what to do if their town is attacked. But I've been in touch with several Ukrainian defense specialists, analysts, really the most respected ones, and they all say the same thing, which is that unlike some of their Western counterparts, they really think that a full-scale Russian invasion with troops coming in across the border is very much the least likely of the scenarios. That doesn't mean that they think nothing's going to happen or that Russia isn't going to try to do something. But what they're much more worried about is the possibility of a major escalation in Donbass, with those troops on the other side of the border to the north, for example, just being used for some kind of diversionary tactic from that to split Ukraine's resources. That's one scenario that they think is possible. Donbass, of course, is the region in the far east of Ukraine, part of which has been occupied by forces directed by Russia for the past coming on for 8 years. Another thing that these defense analysts are very worried about is the possibility of major cyber attacks disabling Ukraine's government, computer infrastructure, and perhaps having at the same time of that some kind of internal disturbances in Ukraine, whether it's in the form of some kind of bombs being planted somewhere or riots being instigated by Russian agents. So one of the analysts reminded me that Russia really does have a lot of agents present in Ukraine who have been prepped for this kind of thing.
And these Kremlin accusations that it's the Ukrainians who are doing a buildup in the Donbass?
Well, the Ukrainians aren't doing a build-up in the Donbass, are they? The Ukrainians have got their army in the Donbass because they are holding the front line, as they have been since this conflict started in 2014. There's no major increased build-up of Ukrainian forces. Ukraine has been receiving increased military aid from its Western allies, of course. Another shipment of that is due to arrive from the US tomorrow morning, and this time we journalists have been invited to watch it arrive. The US clearly wanting to make some publicity around the fact that it is sending this military aid. And it's not the only one of Ukraine's Western allies, of course. There is also aid coming from the Baltic states and from Great Britain.
And one final question for you, Gulliver, with the announcement of these sending not just of aid, but also troops to Eastern European states. What's the feeling on that where you are?
The feeling in Ukraine, I mean, I hesitate to talk of Ukrainians as if they were one bloc. There is a wide range of opinions in Ukraine, and there are some people in Ukraine who think that all of this is provoking Russia and not a very good idea. But the majority opinion, and the opinion voiced by the government, is that they think that the best way to deter Vladimir Putin is to send troops, is to show that NATO countries are prepared to stand up and defend the alliance's eastern flank and its allies further to the east who are not NATO members, i.e. Ukraine.
Gulliver Cragg reporting live from Kyiv. Many thanks for that update.